When I signed the papers for that patch of land, I never imagined it would become the stage for the wildest twist of fate I'd ever experienced. To me, it was just 30 acres of open ground on the edge of town, untamed, raw, and quiet. The kind of place you could hear your own heartbeat in the stillness of the night. It wasn't in any HOA community. No manicured lawns, no nosy neighbors patrolling driveways, no committees deciding what shade of beige your shutters had to be. Just land. My land. But it turned out not everyone understood that. Or rather, one person in particular refused to. Karen, the self-proclaimed queen bee of every neighborhood association within a 5-mile radius. She had a reputation like wildfire. Controlling, loud, and armed with a binder full of community rules she treated like scripture. She'd spent years ruling over her HOA like a tyrant, and when my vacant land sat next to her pristine cookie-cutter subdivision, she decided it was an eyesore. The thing about Karen is she never asks, she commands, and she never imagines consequences, she assumes compliance. Which is why when the first cement trucks rumbled across Rye Lot one morning, I didn't panic, I laughed. I stood there on my porch with a mug of coffee, watching workers in hard hats mark foundation lines on the earth I owned. I asked them what they were doing, and one shrugged. New build, HOA commission. My eyebrows nearly touched the sky. On this land? He gestured to the blueprints. Subdivision extension, mansion build. It took me all of 5 minutes to realize what had happened. Karen, in her delusional crusade to elevate the community, had mistaken or ignored the boundary lines. She thought my property was undeveloped HOA territory. And so, without a word to me, she pushed the board to approve a mansion project. Not just a house, a sprawling, multi-million-dollar mansion. I considered stopping them right then and there. I could have pulled out the deed, called the sheriff, and shut it down before the first brick was laid. But something stopped me. Maybe it was the arrogance in Karen's voice when she later stormed up to me waving her binder like a sword, screeching about improving property values. Maybe it was the smug way she said, "You'll thank me when this place looks respectable." Or maybe it was just fate handing me a rare chance for poetic revenge. So I let her build. Every day for nearly a year, I watched crews swarm my land. Trucks came and went, beams rose, walls took shape, a palace emerged from the dirt. Karen strutted around in high heels and a wide-brimmed hat, barking orders at contractors as though she were royalty overseeing her castle's construction. She never once thought to ask me about it. She never questioned why I wasn't fighting her. She thought my silence was submission, when in reality, it was strategy. By the time the mansion was complete, it was a sight to behold. Towering columns framed the entryway. Marble floors gleamed through massive glass doors. Chandeliers sparkled like constellations in the foyer. It was the kind of house you'd expect to see on the cover of a luxury magazine. And the kicker? It was legally mine. When the grand reveal day arrived, Karen practically dragged half the neighborhood onto my property. She stood at the top of the steps like a queen presenting her crown jewel, rambling about how our community deserves prestige. She even announced she had personally chosen the Italian tiles and French windows. That's when I walked up, deed in hand, and cleared my throat. "Beautiful house," I said loudly enough for everyone to hear. "I appreciate the free gift." Karen blinked at me confused. "Excuse me? This mansion belongs to the HOA." I shook my head. "No, this is my land. Everything built on it belongs to me. Here's the deed." I unfolded the papers, letting her and the crowd read every line. "You built a multi-million-dollar mansion on property you don't own." The silence was delicious. Faces turned, neighbors gawked, and Karen, she went pale, her lips twitching like a fish gasping for air. That's impossible," she stammered. "We had approval." "Approval for something you didn't own," I replied coolly. which means every dime you poured into this project is gone. This mansion is legally mine, free of charge." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Some neighbors looked horrified. Others, I swear, looked amused. After years of her tyranny, they were savoring my downfall. Karen, however, wasn't done. She threatened lawsuits, screamed about fraud, claimed I'd tricked her. But when the lawyers got involved, the truth was undeniable. She and her board had failed to check the property lines. They'd spent the HOA's money, not mine, on a palace that now belonged to me. I didn't stop there. I opened the gates and invited the press. Stories flew across headlines. HOA builds mansion on wrong lot. Local man gets free luxury estate. Reporters hounded Karen, asking how she could have made such a colossal mistake. Her reputation as a power-hungry tyrant was shredded in the court of public opinion. Members of her HOA revolted, demanding her resignation. She went from queen bee to pariah almost overnight. As for me, I moved in. I walked across those gleaming marble floors she had picked out, lounged in the infinity pool she had insisted on, and sipped whiskey on the balcony while the sun set over the land I bought for next to nothing. Every corner of that mansion was a reminder, not of my wealth, but of her arrogance. She had tried to control me, to mold my land into her vision, and instead she built me a palace. Sometimes, when the wind is just right, I can almost hear the echo of her shrieks the day she realized what she had done. And let me tell you, it's sweeter than the sound of any chandelier chime or fountain splash. In the end, Karen taught me a valuable lesson. You don't always have to fight your enemies head on. Sometimes the best revenge is patience. Standing back, letting them dig their own grave, and then smiling when they hand you the keys to the mansion they buried themselves in. And so, here I am, the accidental king of a mansion I never asked for, living proof that when arrogance meets ignorance, the result can be the sweetest revenge story of all.